Welcome to a conversation about enterprise serialization. My name is Parsonage. I'm Senior Director of Serialization Services for PCI. I'm based in the Rockford, Illinois facility, and as you can tell from the accent, and have responsibilities for deploying serialization globally for our company. I'm going to talk about three sections today, so a bit about the company itself, talk through some of our lessons learned with our early implementations, and then a look at where we are today and where we're heading on serialization. I'm only at the show today, but if you want to meet up with me, I'll be on the PCI stand for the rest of the day. If anybody wants a specific or more detailed conversation, then happy to do that. The company lives and breathes through its 5 commitments, and what we're doing with serialization plays very heavily on the first 3. It's all about flexibility. It's about giving an enhanced experience to the customer, and also trying to deal with some of the difficult challenges that we face today in the emerging world of pharmaceuticals. The business has grown considerably over the last few years, and we've added a number of new companies to it. Today we are rebranding as PCI Services, so this is the first day that I'm allowed to say that. And we've joined together now Anderson Brecken, Penn Pharma, Biotech, and also packaging coordinators to create pharma services. And you can see that we deal with everything from design of a clinical trial right through to the commercialization of a clinical study into the ongoing supply of that material. We also have a full range of lab services available also. Products that we package reach every corner of the globe, and commercially we cover most of the world, and clinically equally. There's a few areas that we're not, but I'm sure our folks have been working on those. Lessons learned. So the first challenge is the fact that there is a huge diversity of legislation. There's some help in that many countries are working within the GS1 regs, but there are still different timelines and different components within the timelines. More recently, Europe delayed by a year and then split into 2 specific implementations in 2018 and 2021, depending on the country. And the USA is heavily complex because of its multi-threaded deployment as well. Overall, more than 40 sets of regulations. The 2 standouts, China and Russia, being government-issued serial numbers, both require significant integration and special treatment to gather and deploy those numbers and return them back to their reporting authorities. As a company, we have way over 200 customers. Across our businesses, we deal with 8,000 plus end items, so finished goods items. And we have closing in on 200 packaging suites across our 17 sites globally. And although we have a lot of customers who hold many dedicated lines, the vast majority of our suites are shared, so that we share out capacity against a number of customers. The dedicated suite is much easier to deal with when it comes to serialization than a shared suite. The big challenge that everybody will face and is facing is around artwork. Some examples of things that we've done are attached. The space for the license plate is significant. There are regulations around the minimum font size that need to be adhered to. These are all real things that we've been working with. Brazil, 6 lines of human readable in the center there. China with its linear barcode, again, that's an additional complication, more challenging for certain print technologies. We have been working with customers on not just black. So you'll see there's a blue area there. Laser ablation off a blue or a dark color, dark green, dark purple, looks really nice can play into the hands of marketing who want to keep some control over what serialization looks like, and takes you out of the world of the black box on the carton. The challenge is when you get a significant amount of red in the color, in that to ISO grade the barcode, the ISO standard projects red light, which means you cannot get the contrast of the barcode itself. So you can never prove to the world that you have a good quality barcode if you use a red background, even though you know it's good. We have seen some extremely long artwork lead times. In fact, our first line was delayed 4 months by a whole bunch of internal artwork politics within that particular customer. And just don't underestimate the challenge of getting brand marketing, channel marketing, country marketing together to agree on a way forward and where to put this and how much space to give it. Inference aggregation. We know that some of the suppliers out there have talked and have been recommending inference as a way forwards. We've elected for 100% verification at all stages of our packaging process. You have a semi-automated or an automated case packer. Things don't necessarily work as they should all of the time. And there is a human element in there where people can dip their hands into things and move boxes around. So if you're taking pictures or assuming that the first 12 in are the first 12 out, that can lead to issues. And we've had reports from some of our customers who went down an inference route that 36 pallets into a 70 pallet run, they found that the aggregation into a case wasn't accurate. And they had to go back 30 odd cases to find it. And that's OEE and time on the line that you really don't want to spend. So recommendation is, as you go down this, go with someone who's doing that verification process up front. We've gone to extra lengths on our lines to add additional shrouding on open areas of the conveyor. For example, if we have a bundle that's not closed, then in between the bundle being filled, read, and printed, and it being closed, there's now nowhere that the human can reach in and take a sample or swap things around. So that once we've read it, we know that it's progressing through the system natively. OEE is a massive element within this as well, and I'll come on to talk about OEE a little bit later and the way we've seen it. But the effect of serialization on lines is dramatic. Aggregation. Most of our customers are aggregating. If you look at the regulations, again, most of the regulations don't say you have to aggregate. The US regs talks about serializing the unit, talks about serializing the case. It doesn't say you have to connect them. But think about it practically. How can you actually know what's gone where if you don't aggregate up to the case? What we're advocating through serialization is it's not a burden. It's an opportunity to gain greater insight into product flow, to actually know where your product's going. And therefore, by aggregating to the case and then onwards up to the pallet, assuming those are unopened at points of distribution, you can tell exactly what's gone where. And therefore, if there's a customer complaint, it can be isolated down to a few cases. Potential to stop a full batch recall because you know that the issue was here and we know that this was good and that was good, so we'll contain that section of the batch is a real value add. For countries like Korea, where they mandate first primary unit only, think about it, that sales unit is read once. The first time you know that you haven't packed a sale unit could be at the end of a batch. And you come to the end of the batch, your system says you've packed 12,002 and you've got 12,000 in the cases. Where's the other two? When you read through each stage, so read it into a case, even if you're not aggregating to a case, then you know which 12,000 you've actually packed, and therefore you know which two are missing, and you can find them more readily and deal with the issues. We have actually converted one of our Korean customers to case aggregation as we've gone through. Not because we had any particular issues, but we started to talk to them about potential benefits in this space, and it was seen as a good way forward for them. Shared suites, if you think about the concept of a packaging line that's maybe used for 20 or 30 customers, you multiply the product variations 20-fold, 30-fold. So the suites have to be capable of dealing with printing on the top, printing on the side, printing on the front, etc. Potentially with inkjet, with laser, because not every customer wants to laser a blade. Some people want to stay with inkjet. And that's true of also within PCI, our quality systems are designed such that we can satisfy the needs of 200 plus customers through a single quality system. It's developed to be flexible, to take on board the components that each individual customer requires. And we roll that out across into our serialization space as well. The complexity of this also, when you look at sizes, starts to get interesting. And I'll talk a little bit later about something that we've developed to deal with extreme ranges of sizes that we call our Flex Suite. But that shared line and the fact that you have to, this box is 20 units in a carton, this one's 48 and it's 3 layers, this one's 90, adds a significant amount of weight to the process. The solution that we've chosen, which is Antares Vision, is fully configurable at unit level, so at item level. So every individual item running down a suite has its own recipe, and that can be completely different from any other line or any other item on that suite. OEE. Our first line was interesting. We probably shouldn't have chose it, but it was a full integration into a very old case packer, some old technology around the PLCs, and we had some, I'll call it fun. It wasn't fun at the time, but we had some fun with it. We saw instantly a minus 20% impact on capacity. Over the 3 months following the implementation, we got that 20% down to 0. Now, as we're rolling new lines into our facilities, we see 1-2% negative. We've had the last 2 lines that we've put up are actually better with serialization than they were without. That's partly, I think, due to the technology we've chosen, but also as we're learning, we've got this iterative process of building in, we missed that, we need to do this next time, we need to do that next time, and we're steadily getting better and better at deploying this technology across our organization. There's a huge amount of work to do on batch records. They have to change. There are things in the process that aren't required with serialization. For example, post-case packing weighing. Why do you need to weigh a case after you've serialized every unit in the case and you've physically read with cameras how many units are in the case, and that system has delivered a label to the case that says, I've got 24 in the case. You've already weighed the individual units at the front end. So there's some challenges in thinking that have to be gone through as you go through this to maybe take out steps that historically have added value because you've had a manual process. Once you've replaced some of the manual packing with automation post-packing, then there are opportunities for improvement. Challenges as well are very different. You've got 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines of human readable text. Some locations have a process of challenging every character. That's 100 characters that need to be challenged. It's not practical anymore. The setup changes are very different. Historically, a laser printer, an engineer would turn up with a setup sheet. He'd go up to his laser printer, he'd tap in the lot number, he'd tap in the expiry date, he'd go away, report to QA that he'd done it. The QA person would come up with their setup sheet and go, yep, that's okay. Now, that's all done electronically. So the solution for serialization has cut out that 20 to 30 minutes of time setting up the printers. setting up the cameras, training all the vision systems. It's all done through the formats. This is a huge amount of benefit that's delivered in terms of accuracy and about getting the product right first time. Handover processes as well, equipment. Who owns the equipment once it's installed? Is it the business unit? Is it engineering? Is it operations? That's been an interesting journey for us as well to get that sorted to land in the right place. Standards, mentioned those before. GS1 for me is both a saviour and a curse. I love GS1, I love what they've done for the industry. I love the fact that EPCIS has been adopted by all but 2 so far nations as the global standard for messaging, but they added an extension to the messages which allows you to create customer-specific or company-specific messages. For us, what that means is 200 customers, 8 messages each, 1,600 messages. Because every pharma company wants their own specific bit of custom component in the code. So our approach to messaging is we will build whatever you ask us to build. Whatever messages you require in whatever format you require is exactly what we will deliver. We're not going to try and force a particular structure upon you as you come to work with us. It is completely driven by yourselves, and that's for that full list there of the message structures that you see. We do have a number of customers that we work with already who've decided they're not using GS1 messaging, they're not using EPCIS. They've just developed their own structured messages, and again, that's perfectly okay. As long as it works, as long as we can transfer data over a secure method, we have no issues with that. And I have, within my group, a dedicated team developed or built specifically to manage the integration to our customers. So where are we today? Rockford and Philadelphia systems installed, fully operational, and in production. The UK is installed. The validation will occur during the back end of this calendar year. The first line will go in the first quarter of 16 into the site on Hay-on-Wye, at Hay-on-Wye, Brecon Road, Hay-on-Wye. So far, we've run 250, it's more than that now. These slides are a few weeks old, but 250 lots. We're closing in on 7 million packs of product. Typically 3 levels of aggregation. There are a few of our products that are 4. We have some interesting ones where we're labeling a bottle, serializing a bottle, putting the bottle in a carton, serializing the carton as a packaging level on a 1-to-1 aggregation, and then doing carton to case and then case to pallet. We're active for US, Korea, Brazil, and Saudi. We're in the midst of a project for China at the moment. So we, lots of experience around multiple markets to date. The architecture is interesting. There are 3 pieces of systems that sit outside of the core serialization solution. The customer's EPCIS solution. We've created an enterprise message gateway and our own ERP. Once the data's set up, our system prompts for a serial request. Customer replies with the serial details. Embedded in there is a GLN, and the GLN is the site system that's going to run the particular product. We add to that master data from our ERP. We then work on the order. Eventually, we deploy it down to the line system. It gets processed in the line systems. Data gets returned back to the central brain or central site brain, sits there awaiting the ship confirmation. And we change ship confirmation so we now ship by pallet. So an aggregation benefit is we scan the SSCC code and we ship using the SSCC code of the individual pallet, which ensures, again, further verification that we're shipping exactly the right product. And then the gateway forms the final messages and pings those off to the customer. The Flex Suite, mentioned it earlier on, a very simple approach, 2 ways of using it. We already do the packaging. So we stop the packaging after cartoning, we move the product uncoded into the Flex Suite, serialize in the Flex Suite, pack it to cases, pack it to pallet, or we don't package for you at all. And you contract us as a serialization only vendor. And in that way, you send us uncoded cartons, we serialize them, pack them out through to the case, through to pallet, and then send them back, return them into your supply chain. And both of those are on a unit price basis. The Flex Suite's been built to deal with what I've coined matchbox to shoebox. And for the detail techies in the room, that's a standard iPhone 6 for sizing. It's not a 6 Plus. So very small carton to a large carton. Changeover smallest to largest in the machine is 5 minutes. Changeover lot to lot in the system is under 1 minute. So the changeover in the room is about QA, line clearance, and removing the previous batch and getting the new batch into the room. So we've built it in such a way that we can run short runs, small batches, very specific batches, and turn a lot of them through on a day-to-day basis. So to time, if there are any other questions, I said you've got my contact details there. I'm on the stand for the rest of the day. If we have a couple of minutes, if anybody has any specific questions, then I'd be happy to answer them now.